Hello and welcome back to the greatest show on earth. This is Starcastic Remarks alongside Chris and James. My name is Ryan. We are the official Dallas Stars podcast of THPN. We're all back this week. Please go and check out DraftKings Sportsbook and also Raycon. We appreciate them for being our sponsors of this podcast. For the first time, live from Florida, James is in Florida. What's up, James?
It's just an hour later here than it is there, so y'all are welcome for still doing this. Not really though, because I stay up this late anyway. So
yeah, I was about to say,
Cool.
this is like
There we go.
you're up this late anyways.
Boys. Football season, college football season starts this weekend. Y'all know what that means.
it means that the A&M team is about to have another disappointing year.
Yes. Besides that, how dare you disparage me, James? It means that hockey season's a month away.
Yes, that's more important.
1 month and a few days, but whatever.
I don't know if y'all, this is totally, well, I guess it's kind of on topic, but did y'all see, I think it's Vanderbilt. They're still like constructing their stadium, the renovations they're doing or whatever.
Nobody cares about Vanderbilt, Ryan. Move along.
But like they're supposed to have a home game like this week.
Nobody cares. No one shows up to Vanderbilt games anyway. So if half the building's gone, they won't even notice. All right, moving right along.
Well, at least they won't be like ranked in the top 10 and then fall out every single year.
Oh, see, that's why we're starting this season not even close to the top 10. We're not even gonna stay away from it the whole time. Low expectations, high reward. I guess that's the goal.
Sure, we'll go with that. Well,
Yeah.
Chris, how have you been out there in Austin / San Antonio since you go to San Antonio? It seems like every day.
Great. We had our little owner closeout walk here today. Building's pretty much done. We pretty much got to slap a coat of paint on some little parts here and there, fix the little concrete, and we'll be all good and dandy to get on out of there. You know what I mean?
You just went straight hick there for a second.
I
All
mean,
good?
he is.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Well, how's all the wedding stuff going? Is it going okay?
We are going to have a wedding. That's what's going to happen.
You're pretty much like, I'm just going to show up, and that's about it.
Hey,
and everyone else does all the other
Again,
stuff for
more
me.
disparaging of me today. I don't know where these attacks are coming from, but I've had a large hand in planning this wedding. Thank you very much.
Probably more than I was in my own wedding, to be totally
Yeah.
honest.
That's
I can
for sure.
totally see that happening. Well, for me, we're getting even closer to our first football game. It's here on Friday, and we've got, I think we've got a third of our show on the field ready to go. So
A little marching band, root toot toot toot.
yes, goo and all that other stuff. But we've got like pencils, like giant pencils and giant crayons, and like 10-foot banners and ridiculousness. We're like doing all this dance stuff now that's brand new. It's cool. I like it. But man, it's I'm excited. I think we have a really cool shot of doing really well at state this year. If we make it to state. We got to make it to state first. But
You heard it here first.
Okay.
Ryan likes dancing.
well, of course I do. Of course.
All
I
right,
do.
moving right
These
along.
things look cool. Okay.
Moving right
Anyway.
along.
All right, we are going to get into a couple of things tonight. First things first, NHL news, couple of signings to talk about. Obviously, the big one that came out today, we'll discuss that. We're going to get into some star stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about the American Airlines Center. That video board is coming up, and it's apparently enormous. I don't know if you've seen any like behind-the-scene pictures. It's huge. It's like twice the size of the old one.
That's a big boy.
We're going to talk a little bit about, of course, the defense for the Stars. Sod wrote a article for The Athletic talking about how the Stars missed out on Petrie and Carlson, but it was probably for the best. We got an article from the NHL.com guys saying what's the 3 biggest questions facing the Dallas Stars. And then we're going to get into our particular segment, which is the title of this episode today, is the top 3 most important players next season for the Dallas Stars. We've each got 3. They might overlap. They might not overlap. We'll see. We have not told each other what those 3 stars are. And then we'll do our favorite segment, of course, which is the Who Cares segment. And in honor of Amanda's birthday, that'll give you a little bit of a hint and a little bit of a, grab onto something so you stay for the whole episode thing. And
We call that a hook in the business, Ryan. A little hook.
a hook. I thought it was called,
A little hook.
I don't know, whatever it is. Okay. Anyways, first things first. Brandon Hagel of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He signs an 8-year extension worth $6.5 million per season. Normally, I wouldn't really care all that much about this, but the fact that the guy made $1.5 million with his past contract, he's making like almost 4 times that much. He had a really good season for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Lightning just seemed to throw out 8-year contracts like it's nothing. They did that to Chernak. They did that to, oh my gosh, what's his face? Lots of other people, like 3 or 4 other players. So I don't know if you guys saw anything about that. Thoughts about the Tampa Bay Lightning going into next season? Are they going to bounce back or are they not going to bounce back?
Yeah, right now it's a good contract, but like you said, they do those 8-year contracts to not the top players. I mean, he's a middle of the road kind of guy, so it's kind of strange to give him such a strong contract and expect him to be that way for the full 8 years. But who knows? It worked out for them in the past. They got 2 cups, so who am I to question it?
Well, he is really young. He's only 25. And I mean, he got traded 2 years ago, and at the trade deadline, he did okay. But then this past season, he just exploded. Really stepped up. I think he had 30 goals this year, if I remember correctly. I don't have the stats in front of me, but yeah. So another player that the Tampa Bay Lightning signed for a really long time. We'll see how they do this year. This is another interesting one. Alex Lafreniere. So the first overall pick of a couple years ago signed a 2-year extension worth $2.3 million. He hasn't really lived up to the hype around him and around his contract and his standing with the New York Rangers. Agree, disagree? What do you expect from him from his new contract?
Fully agree. I mean, I feel like this is almost a entry-level deal part 2. Like you're still banking on what he can do and what he's expected to do in the future more so than what he's brought to the team right now.
And it's really starting to feel like it might be a mistake that they brought him into the NHL so early. Like maybe they should have left him in the AHL for a year or 2. That's what it's really starting to look like.
But the Rangers really, I mean, he's filling a spot right now too on their roster as well, though. If they're in their win now mode, like everyone's saying that they are, like their trade deadline moves last year made it seem like, he's got to fill a role and he's got to score goals is what he's got to do. So he's definitely in a weird position where he's not fully developed, but he needs to be.
And let's say this: he's not a bad player, right?
No.
He's absolutely 100% an
He's just
NHL
not
level
first
player.
overall level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The expectation level of a first overall pick, he hasn't fulfilled that role of what he's expected to be. I mean, and I remember just like we did that episode so long ago now when the Rangers won the draft lottery many years ago. And that was when they were just beginning to get all of these really good players. They just signed Panarin. They had just gotten Adam Fox. It looked like they were just exploding. And all of a sudden, they also get the first overall pick, and it didn't seem fair. And now we look back on it, and it's like, yeah, the Rangers are still a good team. But, Lafreniere still hasn't lived up to that contract at all or his standing. So we'll see what he does. I think he's going to jump up. I'm not saying he's going to score 40 or 50 goals, but honestly, I think 30 goals is probably an expectation for him. And maybe that's not fair as a Stars fan perspective and for someone who hasn't watched him very much, but I don't know. That just seems like an expectation in my mind for him.
And the thing he's got going for them is that he's still young. I mean, he's getting up there, but like people break out in their like mid-20s sometimes even. They'll score like 80 points in a season out of nowhere. So I mean, it's something that he's that type of player who would be capable of doing that.
Yeah, and they haven't really given up on him at all the way like the Kraken did with Shane Wright. I mean, he's been playing with the best players even when he's playing bad. His first season, he was not good. I would say he was bad. And he's still consistently he's playing with good guys, keeping good guys around him. He just needs to figure it out, but he's got to figure it out soon. So I'm kind of shocked to see such a big contract for him, honestly. I didn't expect to see multiple millions of dollars in multiple years, but hey, they still trust him, even though we haven't seen it yet.
He's still got that staple around him, though. And again, like James said, he's
First
only
overall.
21, right? 20,
Yeah.
21. And people were saying the same thing about Jack Hughes, and he was the first overall pick. And then now look at him. I think he had a 99-point season this past year,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
was
one of
top
the
10.
best. Yeah, he's one of the best centers in the NHL right now. So sometimes you just got to be patient, and maybe he'll take that role away from Zibanejad in a couple of years. I don't know. We'll see.
And I think that's especially true just with all the COVID stuff. I mean, that messed with a lot of players' development, and it's proving again and again, further we go into this, that there's just players who pop up out of nowhere.
Like Wyatt Johnston. I mean, Wyatt Johnston was drafted way late in the first round, and we got lucky. We got absolutely lucky that we got him at where he was at. He didn't play in the OHL at all in his draft year. So, I mean, that's another really good point, James. Two really good points there.
Speaking of players in the top 10, guess who's not in the top 10 who just signed a really big contract?
Yep, he is now the highest paid player in the NHL, and that will start this upcoming.
year.
Or is it next year or next year? Next year. Mr. Austin Matthews, one of the biggest superstars in the NHL. He signs a 4-year deal worth $13.25 million. So over the course of 4 years, he's going to be making $53 million. That is insane. Now, is he worth it?
No.
Probably. I think he's
Yes.
worth that. He's absolutely worth that.
He's the only one of two players to be outscoring Alexander Ovechkin in goals over the past 5 years.
Yes. He's the only one that's been able to do it.
Scores.
Right.
I understand, but I mean, even just last season and the stuff that we've seen from him in the playoffs shows me that he's not worth that much money.
I think the main thing is he feels kind of injury prone. I mean, he hasn't played an 82 game season since the first year he was in the league.
And last season, he's 16th in the league in points. And we're saying he's $3 million better than Connor McDavid. I know that's not how it works. Connor signed his contract several years ago, but still, y'all understand my point.
Well,
He's not close to Connor McDavid, and he's ahead of him by $3 million.
Well, right now maybe, but the main thing you gotta look at is not the amount, but the percentage of the cap that Connor McDavid is worth compared to what it is now.
Oh.
So I think it's about the same. I think it's 16% or something like that.
It's a different caliber of player. Matthews scores a ton. Yes, absolutely. He's crazy good at putting the puck in the back of the net. But Connor McDavid will go and win games single-handedly on a nightly basis.
Austin Matthews doesn't do that.
No.
Yeah,
He
does.
does it. He scores a lot of goals.
He does it maybe once every 2-3 weeks. But
Did it against the Stars.
But I mean, Connor McDavid does it.
Remember that goal?
Connor McDavid does it every other night.
Exactly. And even beyond that point, the Leafs have tried this for 5 years now.
I don't know what they're
And
doing.
they're doubling down. That's unbelievable. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
but no, it's not crazy. Here's the deal. You don't go and trade your best player, though. Okay? You don't go trade Austin Matthews or Marner.
You
They're
don't
not
if
sign
trading
anybody's-
$14 million though.
Right, but if you want to make a big change like that, you go and change Nylander, who is looking up there for an extension. That's a player that you can get rid of. Yeah, it sucks if he goes away, but it's not as irreplaceable as Matthews is. Matthews is darn near irreplaceable. That's like Miro Heiskanen for us. I truly believe that. I really do believe that.
I think he's wildly overrated. Wildly.
Highly disagree with you. And that's his defensive play is also pretty good too. So
He plays in Toronto and he's an American. That makes the media love him. He is a great player. He is definitely a top 10 player in the National Hockey League. He's not
top
head
5.
and shoulders. I don't think he's top 5. He
He
is
is top
not head
5.
and shoulders above every other player the way that this contract says he is. He is not the best player in the NHL. I don't think he's close.
he's no. I agree with you there. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that the best player in the NHL right now is Connor McDavid.
I don't think
There's no doubt. Period.
I don't think he's
It's
top
him.
5.
I think he's top 5. I think you could argue for him being top 5. For sure, top 10.
be
For
wrong.
top 5, I think you could make an argument.
I mean,
Okay,
Jason,
so let's just do it. Let's just do this. Let's do this. Okay, top 5. Okay, who are players that we would consider top 5 in the NHL? Connor McDavid,
Leon Draisaitl,
Leon Draisaitl.
Nathan McKinnon,
Okay,
Pasta,
Pasta. Okay,
Jason Robertson.
I don't know.
109 points.
I don't know. I still
I
think
do.
Matthews is above Robertson.
He's not.
I think he
Matthew
is. I
Tkachuk.
think he is. And honestly,
Nico Rantanen.
I would still put him above those guys. The only now
Over
the
Matthew Tkachuk?
yes, I would.
That's
Because
insane.
Matthew Tkachuk has not done it consistently. And you know who I still would put in the top 5 in the NHL right now? Is Sidney Crosby. Because that guy is ridiculous. He's 36, 37 years old. He is one of the best centers in the NHL. He's still one of the best defensive centers. Great two-way play. And he's still, able to contribute offensively even at his age. So
I'm not
yes.
talking to you after that one. In the past,
I was
yes,
gonna
he's probably the best of the last 20 years, but no, not right now.
James, do you have anything to say? Oh, he's muted. He's probably answering something. James is like being very quiet. He doesn't want to get in the middle of this.
Yeah, I don't know.
A little weird
Okay.
too. So
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on from that. Let's move on and let's get into some of the star stuff we got going on.
I'm just
All
gonna be yelling at you, so we can't keep talking about it.
right. All right. So first things first. If you have, this is basically just if you haven't seen pictures, go find pictures. If you go look on X or whatever it's called now, Twitter, or like Facebook or something like that, there are kind of pictures everywhere that, people who work at the American Airlines Center have taken pictures of. This new scoreboard that they're putting up in the American Airlines Center is absolutely ridiculous. It's insanely huge. And I mean, it literally looks like it's twice the size of the old board. And I like the old board. The old board, it was outdated at this point, but it was still good.
Yeah.
But this new one is going to be really cool. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, the old board was in a bad spot. It wasn't old enough to be vintage, and it was not new enough to look cool. So I'm glad we got a new one. I think you can do a lot of cool graphic design stuff other than just obviously showing the hockey game, but like the pregame stuff will look really cool on that. Intermission stuff will look fun on that too. So yeah, it'll be cool.
Just random thing here. Speaking of graphics, have y'all seen that little ball thing in Las Vegas or whatever? You know what I'm talking about? It's like it's like a dome thing. It like projects and it looks really, really cool. Please tell me you know what I'm talking about.
I think I've seen it on Twitter.
I've seen it on like Twitter or like.
I know what you're talking about. It's the thing that took billions of dollars
Oh, we lost
Nope.
James.
to make.
Oh, he's back. There he is. Yeah, it took a lot of money, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Where are you going with that, Ryan?
I don't know. You just said something about graphics, and I was just like, oh yeah, that'd be.
Oh wow,
Okay.
yeah, good point, Ryan. Thanks for keeping us on
All right.
track.
Shut up. Okay. Anyways, let's get into this too. So Saad Yousuf getting into the whole defensive conversation. The Stars are a really good team, and with really good teams, obviously the weaknesses of those really good teams are going to be highlighted even more because obviously you can really see it. Goaltending is really solid. The forward group is probably one of the best in the NHL. And one of the things that we complained about this offseason is that we did not go out and get like one more defenseman. I don't even think we need two. We just need one more solid D-man, I feel like, in our top 4. And Sada is over here arguing that the Stars are probably better off for not acquiring either Carlson or Petrie. But he is still acknowledging that there is still a need there. So what do y'all think about just that particular idea? I think Petrie would have been a good fit here, especially considering that he got traded to Montreal. Some of his cap hit got retained by Pittsburgh when he went to Montreal. I think he would have been okay for a couple of seasons, but again, it was just another suitor kind of contract. But what do you look from the Stars for the defense? Obviously, they're going to go into the season with these 7 guys, right?
Yeah. First of all, I'm kind of glad we didn't pick up Petrie. I think, like you said, he'd have the same kind of flaws that Suter has. He'd be smart with his brain. He'd know what to do, but he wouldn't have that extra edge to him. He'd be pretty slow, could get beat pretty easily. But that said, the thing that I've kind of come to on the defensive side is that that's just kind of the way it's going to go in the salary cap era. I mean, we made our big move and we got Matt Duchene this offseason because he was the best available option for the price that we were willing to pay. If we had had a Matt Duchene, but he's a defenseman, we would have taken him. And I believe that's what Neil would have done. That wasn't the best option. That didn't make the team. There wasn't an option like that made the team substantially better the way Matt Duchene does. So I think I look at these guys and I'm confident that they can do it. They have to get better. Lundqvist has to be a lot better. Harley has to be a lot better. That's for sure an area where it's up to those guys kind of individually to make a huge step forward. And that would put the Stars at the top of the NHL is what that would do if they make a big leap, both of them. But that's also a huge ask to ask of young defensemen like that. Yeah. So it's definitely a hole, but it also has potential is what I'm saying. So I'm kind of okay leaving it the way it is. If an option comes up to fill it, fine. If not, whatever. That's the way salary cap works. We're going to score a lot more goals than we're going to let in.
And also, I mean, we're still one of the best defensive teams in the league. I mean, we have Jake Ottinger in net save us, and then we have immense depth down the center to get back and help the defense. So, I mean, in terms of a defensive team, we have enough players on the forward side to cover the gap in the defense.
Yeah, and not even to mention that we have probably the best game controlling defenseman in the league, I would say, with Miro Heiskanen. I mean, you can only play him so much, yeah, but we played him to as much as we could the entirety of the season, and he had the best season of his career.
Yep.
And he's now widely known as probably one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL while scoring a ton of assists. So we're going to be okay. We have a top half defense, or blue line, I should say.
Is it enough to win us the cup, though? I mean, really, that's what we're looking at here. Is this blue line good enough to win the Stanley Cup? And that's why a lot of people are looking at it and saying that they're looking at the Vegas Golden Knights and the Vegas Golden Knights spreading out their ice time like they did.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Stars, very top heavy especially with their top guy. Is that going to be a recipe for success? So, I mean, I would argue and say, yes, they could probably do it, but it's going to be at the expense of the feet of Miro Heiskanen because he's going to be skating a lot.
And there's truth to what Vegas did in spreading out the minutes, but also they had the hottest goaltender that came out of nowhere to save them every time it broke down. So, yes, their defense was amazing. They also had just a crazy hot goaltender.
You also kind of mentioned the cap a little bit, Chris. I was going to read straight from the article. We haven't even gotten to the point of having $10 million against the cap each season for the next 4 years, the entire time when Tyler Seguin's $9.85 million is still on the books, and multiple star players, including Jason Robertson, Ottinger, and to a lesser extent Johnston and Harley, would be due sizable extensions. All for a player in Carlson who is 33 years old and hadn't played a full 82-game season prior to last year since 15-16, and hadn't cracked the 50-point mark prior to his blistering 101-point campaign last season. So, again, a perfect point right there by Saad Yousuf.
Yeah, it would have been buying at the top of the market. And Neil has already set up his contracts right now in a way that we will be able to re-sign everybody that we have right now too, really. So, messing with it when it's not an obviously good move the way Duchene was is not a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And it just made sense for Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh is in an all-win situation right now because they've got
they're blowing out the books.
Maybe max. Yeah, it's maybe max 3 years with their core four that they have there with Letang, Crosby, Malkin, and I guess you can include Carlson in that with that core four there in Pittsburgh. Kyle Dubas just has to have a core four, doesn't he? wherever he goes. He just has to have one. So
It worked out so well last time. So why not
yeah,
try it?
exactly. Right. Exactly. So
Yeah. So kind of sum
okay.
up my thing. Our defense is not the best, especially for a cup contending team that the way we are. But there's still potential there. Harley steps up, Lundqvist steps up. All of a sudden, we have a great blue line. That's really what it is. If those two players play to their potential, we're outstanding.
Yep. And then you've also got the veteran presence of Ryan Suter in a reduced role, hopefully on that third pairing, which would be absolutely excellent. He showed that he could play really well in reduced minutes. It's just when he's played too much, he makes too many mistakes. At least at his age right now, his speed is not what it used to be. So the only other thing that I could think of when it comes to talk about the defense is, do we see the Stars make a move at like the trade deadline? And I know that's really, really, really far in advance, but at that point, the cap, it's easier to kind of manage the cap a little bit because you're 2/3 of the way through the season, 3/4 of the way through the season, or whatever. Is that something that you could see the Stars doing, is going out and getting a rental D-man?
I think that's absolutely an option if one of Harley, Hakanpää, or Lundqvist just can't do it. Like if they fall apart, that is totally an option I can see happening. Not even for somebody that's necessarily even top 4. I mean, you might be trading for a bottom pair defenseman at that point that's just solid somewhere. So that's definitely an option I see happening if we have problems. But hopefully we just don't have problems.
Exactly. I agree. Okay. Let's go on to 3 questions facing the Dallas Stars this season. This is from Tracy Myers of NHL.com. I just figured it would just be kind of fun to go through the 3 questions real quick, and then we'll get into the last couple of segments here in tonight's episode. Okay, the first one: who is the best fit with Matt Duchene? So it kind of seems like he's going to slot into the pseudo 2A, 2B line there with Marchment and Sagan. That just appears to be what's going to happen. But could you maybe see him playing with like Wyatt Johnston and Jamie Benn on that other pseudo second line?
Not really, because I think the main reason we got Dadonov is because he just works so well with both of those guys. So weirdly enough, I think our top 2 lines are set right now. I definitely can see the bottom 2 lines moving around and mixing up just with whatever works. I mean, we've seen Dellandrea can make an offensive impact on a line. The beginning of last season, whichever line he was on was scoring for whatever reason. We never really figured that out because he wasn't the one doing the scoring, but it was effective. So I can totally see those bottom 2 pairings getting shifted around and moved around. So maybe we don't have that checking line like Bones liked us to have. But maybe it's like a 3A, 3B situation because I'm kind of fully putting Johnston's line in the second line role right now, just given the points that they scored last season. It's kind of ridiculous.
I think that's fair to say. I agree. So,
yeah, but it's also good to be able to move it around. I mean, anybody in our top 3 lines can play anywhere. Is really the case. Those are all top 6 forwards there that we have in our top 9, which is ridiculous.
And then we kind of already talked about this a little bit to a certain extent, so we don't have to go into super depth with it. But who rounds out the defense, and what do the defensive pairings look like? We've talked about this for all offseason, trying to find a way to put Miro Heiskanen on the left side, but it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
So who steps up more likely, do you think? Do you think maybe Harley plays with Miro? Maybe Miro can go to the left side and Lundqvist is able to play with him a little bit? What looks good for that?
What I expect to happen is the same thing that has been happening, and I expect Suter and Heiskanen to be playing together a lot. I expect Heiskanen to play
don't make me throw up
20 to 24 minutes and Suter to be playing 20 to 22. So I don't think it's going to change. What I want to happen is Harley to really step out. I mean, he's been protected for 4 years now in the minors. He played a big role in the final push to end the season where we coulda, shoulda, woulda won the division, and played a big role in the playoffs for us. So, I mean, yeah, he's set up right now to have a great rookie season.
Even though it's not really a rookie season, but
I don't know how many games has he played in the NHL? Has he already disqualified himself?
No, I don't think
it'll
he
be
is.
his rookie season.
Yeah, I think it's like over the course of 3 years, you have to play a certain amount of games to not be considered a rookie anymore.
He
I
hasn't
think he's
played
only
that many
played. I think he's only played like less than 20, maybe less than 30, something like that. I don't know.
Playoff games must not count then.
Playoff games do not count.
playoff
That is
count.
correct.
Yeah, they don't.
Interesting. Doesn't really matter. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then the third question, we've talked about this a lot, and David Castillo of D Magazine loves this player, has constantly been writing about him. How does Wyatt Johnston build off his rookie season? So, there is the
Scores more.
dreaded. He scores more. There's the dreaded sophomore slump. We saw that kind of hit Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings this past year. He did not play at all like he did his rookie season. Moritz Seider kind of played a little better, but what do you think happens? Do you think he might just go into a sophomore slump? Does he stay the same? Does he explode and get 40 goals? What do you think?
I would be utterly shocked if Johnston and Ben score the same amount or more than they did last season. That would be shocking. I expect them to score less, and I think it's going to be a good bit less, honestly, for both of them, because they were outstanding last season, and I don't know. I don't know that can keep up the way it did last year. It was crazy.
I think you're wrong, Chris.
Tell me why.
I think Johnston, throughout the entire season, proved that he was in the NHL and he wasn't going away. He continued to score throughout the entire course of the year, consistently, not bursts at the beginning in the first 50 games and then died. He scored through the entire time, even ramped up towards the end of the season. And it feels like he was always supposed to be there. He didn't look like a rookie this year.
Nope, he didn't.
That's it. Go ahead.
I was just going to agree with you a little bit. If there was ever a rookie that would avoid a sophomore slump, it would be Johnston, just because of the way he plays. He, like you said, he plays like a veteran, solid two-way, both sides of the puck, never really makes a stupid play. So he's not the flashiest player either. He's just a smart, good hockey player.
He's pretty flashy, dude.
He can be.
He's stick handled through a couple people.
He's not like a Trevor Zegras kind of
That's
thing.
what I was about to say.
mean,
He's not scoring goals from behind the back of the net or trying to flip pucks off the goalie's head.
I mean, the Game 7 short side backhand
that was
corner is pretty
and his first goal against Nashville, that was pretty too.
Man.
Off on the side and that angle, oh man. Whew. But there's so many arguments as to why he's not going to go through the sophomore slump. I mean, when you look at what Pete DeBoer said at the end of the season, the end of the year press conferences and stuff like that, he said he's never seen a player like Wyatt Johnston ever in his entire coaching career. So, and the other fact is, it's not just Wyatt got better as he went on. Yeah, he kind of went on some hot streaks and scored more goals, and those, 4 or 5 game stretches or whatever. But he was given way more responsibility as he was going on. He progressively got better. He was even playing penalty kill at the end of the season and even in the playoffs. And he wasn't doing that at the beginning of the season. So that's another reason why I don't think that either him or Ben are going to slow down. I don't think Ben's going to score 40 goals, obviously. I think he's going to be 25 to 35 range like he was this year. But I can see Wyatt Johnston going up and scoring 30 plus. I really do. And if we're going to win the cup, that line is super key in order to do that, because I'm not sure that the top line can keep up that production. I think Hintz and Robertson can, but I mean Pavelski is eventually going to run out. I hope, keeping my fingers crossed, he's not going to run out anytime soon. But
he's got to run out soon, right? Right?
Nope. He's never running out. He's staying forever.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Last thing we got tonight for you guys before the Who Cares. Top 3 most important players for next season. We've each got our 3. I'm curious to see which ones you guys have got picked. I've got my 3. Do we want to do like we do Who Cares segment style and just go 3-3-3, 2-2-2, 1-1-1?
I don't know. This isn't my segment, so it's your choice.
All right, let's just go 3-3-3, 2-2-2, 1-1-1. Let's just do that. All right. I'll go. I guess I can go first, unless James, you want to go first?
No.
I'll go first.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
James, you go first.
I'm okay with going first. So is this like an actual ranking or?
I don't think it matters. You can do however you want to do it.
Oh, well, mine's kind of ranked.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I guess I can do mine ranked. I can do mine ranked. Yeah,
So,
I can do that.
So for my third, I have Miro Heiskanen in there. I mean, Heiskanen was so good this year, and he needs to be so good next year, and I expect him to be. But at the same time, like if he gets injured at all, this team's like we're gonna go on a losing streak instantly. So the health of Miro Heiskanen might be the most important thing next year.
Yeah, more so the health rather than just his playing ability, because we know he can play.
Yeah.
He just has to stay healthy for 82 games while he's playing 25 minutes a night.
I mean, you lose Heiskanen, and we might have the worst blue line in the Central Division.
You might, yeah. If those three players that I'd mentioned earlier don't do well, which they probably won't with extended minutes, yeah, we could have the worst.
I don't think it would be the worst because you have to think there's still Arizona and there's still Chicago.
I'm saying worst case scenario. Heiskanen's gone. Harley, Hakanpää, and Lundqvist all suck. I mean, yeah, that would be
worst case. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll do my number 3. All right. So my number 3 is I'm actually going to put this on Thomas Harley. It was going to be Lundqvist, but y'all kind of talked about Harley a lot and kind of won me over a little bit. I think Harley stepping into a top 4 role is extremely key to the success of this team. We've talked about defense is a weakness for this team. It's not necessarily like weak. It's just weaker than the rest of the team, right? And like you said, Chris, if he can step in and he can play on the top pairing with Miro Heiskanen, maybe even kind of lessen the minutes of Miro Heiskanen so that Miro can be more well-rested for the playoffs. And later in the year when we really, really need him to be super good, that's huge. And this all goes back to Miro kind of a little bit with James's point. But Thomas Harley is like one of the keys to the Stars' success next season. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that was going to be mine as well. Either him or Lundqvist. I mean, you can say this exact same thing that you just said for Harley for Lundqvist.
That's true.
We traded a first-round pick for him. He's a first-round kind of guy. So he's expected to be in that spot too. Harley, we like more because he's developed in our system. He's learned exactly what we want him to learn, and now it's time for him to step up because he's been through it all. So I agree with you.
And I honestly think Lundqvist is going to play majority of the season next year. Like he's going to be 60 games at least.
No,
if the same thing happens this year that happens last
70
year,
plus.
That would be bad.
And that's why we have Bayreuther.
I don't want to see
hopefully
Bayreuther.
For
James number
2. All right, my number 2. I'm going with Rope Hintz, and for a very specific reason. Okay, I just want to look at Rope Hintz's shot percentage over the years he's been in the league. So his first year in the league, he had a 9% for shooting percentage. And then he had a 15.8. And then he had a 16.3. And then he had a 17.4. And this year he had a 20.11.
Wow, I didn't know. That's really interesting.
If
actually,
Rope Hintz just shoots the puck more next year, I don't think it would be. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that he can make it to 50 goals. Honestly. I mean, a 20 shot percentage, he had 184 shots. That's not nearly enough for having a 20% shooting percentage. Man.
I'm wondering if you have this in front of you, but do you have Jason Robertson's shooting percentage this year?
I don't. It
If
went
you
down
can pull that
a
up
little
while I
bit.
kind of talk about it, because it's
it.
kind of hard for Rope Hintz to shoot more because he has
he never has
number
the
7
shoot.
in the league in points right there, who scored 1 billion goals, took the points number, and almost took the team's goals record as well.
Yeah, so Robertson had 13.4 his first season in the league. Then he had an 18.6, and this year he had a 14.7. But he also shot almost 100 more times than he did last year.
Which
He
is
listened.
a
Why
crazy
you
high
see it.
shooting percentage.
But if they both just shoot, both of them shoot. I don't care. Both shoot every time he touches the puck.
Yeah, both of you shoot more. I agree.
Both of them shoot, and Pavelski will just stand in front of the net and just tip it away.
And that's crazy to tell Jason Robertson that he has to shoot more. I mean,
Right.
he shoots it
that-
every time he gets it.
That was his goal this year. He saw his 18% last year. It's like, dude, I just need to shoot more. And that's what I want Hintz to do this upcoming season. That's why I think it's so important. I think he's our number one center, and he's gotten better every single year he's been in the league, and his stats are just insane for what he's been doing.
And he showed last year why he might be a better hockey player than Jason Robertson is.
Yeah, playoffs especially.
That's really
Playoffs was huge.
That's really a huge debate thing. But Robertson definitely has the goal sense, but just Rope's skill. I mean, that's all it is. He is insanely skilled. What's your second one, Ryan?
Well, I want to talk about Rope for a second. But so this was really interesting. So right before I came on, like about 38 minutes before, I watched the 32 and 32 that the NHL.com has, and they have each of the team season previews and stuff like that, right? Well, Dan Rosen, who is a very well-known commentator, columnist, writes a bunch of stuff. He actually thinks that Roope Hintz might be the best Selke candidate for next year now that Bergeron is not in the league anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And that right there is a huge compliment to his game and how he plays. When you've got a big time writer, I know it's just a media person, but still the fact that a media person recognizes him, his two-way play, his ability, and how he played in the playoffs, that's really cool to see. It's really, really cool to see. Okay. Anyways.
I would put a large wager on Roope Hintz getting a Selke in the next 5 years.
Oh, I'd guarantee it. I would almost guarantee it. Okay. My number 2, I kind of went in the same direction James did with his number 3. And it's going to be kind of weird, but my number 2 is Scott Wedgwood. And here's the reason why. We lost a lot of competent goaltending when he was out. Like, he was hurt. They said he's only going to be out for a couple of weeks. And then it turned into a month. And then it turned into, I think, like 2 months. And then he finally came back, and he did not play very well. So I think in Thomas Harley needing to be really key so that Miro Heiskanen could step up and be even better, I think Scott Wedgwood needs to stay healthy, and he needs to be really, really good in order that Ottinger can really step in there and really have that Vezina caliber season that we know he can have. Because I think that's going to be huge for the Stars to be able going into the playoffs.
And that's definitely going to be a lesson learned after the playoffs that we had. I mean, we had one of the best goalies of the regular season stepping into the playoffs. We go into the playoffs, and he's mediocre at best in the playoffs. I mean,
he was good in the Minnesota series. But after that, I would agree with you, yes.
In the semifinals, he was probably the worst goalie of the semifinals.
I agree, yes.
And it's because we rode him so hard at the end of the season trying to get that conference title, which I agree is an important thing to get. But, I mean, it cost you. We were talking about it when it was happening. And I argued that, yes, we should ride him to try and get the conference. And hindsight being 2020, that was probably the wrong decision. We probably should have taken second and been happy with it. Because, I mean, who knows? Maybe a little bit more rest, a few games off, and we see a different Jake Ottinger.
It's tough when you're playing the third most minutes among goaltenders in the league.
Yeah. And that is something I think that will be taken as a lesson learned, and we will not see that even if Wedgwood is hurt. I think we will play a bad goalie, and we'll take not really having a chance.
So here's a question that comes into my mind, and it kind of bounces off of James's third most played minutes in the NHL last season. How many games does Ottinger get next season? And how many better question would be, how many should he play so that he stays fresh for the playoffs?
No more than 56.
Yeah.
56?
Around 50.
I feel like if you keep him under 60 games at all costs. I mean, if he reaches that, it's going to be the same story as last year.
And especially coming down the wire, I think is more important as when he gets those rest days as to how many he gets. just making sure that he's fully healthy and good to go going into the playoffs, not having anything nagging, not having soreness, not being just exhausted. I mean, if we need to take second place to have arrested Jake Ottinger at
I'd
this
rather take
point,
second place.
with the players we have right now, we'll take second place and we'll go try and win a Stanley Cup.
Well, that was just my thought. I thought that was kind of. I'm kind of going about this a different way. Obviously, we know the important players, the Rope Hinces, the Miro Haskinens, and stuff like that. But those two guys in particular, if those two guys can step up, then the other two guys who are more key individuals can really be able to solidify their role and really stand up when we really need them to, in Miro and Otter. So that's just where I went with my number 3 and 2. Sorry.
My number 2 is the actual correct choice since Jake Ottinger. If he's a great goalie, we're going to be the best hockey team. I mean, we've talked about defense. You know what fixes bad defense? Great goaltending.
And you talk about another player who's just gotten better stats every year he's been in the league. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a .919 save percentage this year.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'd say that this was his best season. I feel like his rookie season was better, but maybe because I just had lower expectations too. But I
He
think
also
this
played
is,
way less games too.
Yeah. I think this is very similar to the Miro Heiskanen argument that James was making. He's one of our best players. He's on the side of the game that we are less strong at. So he has to be exceptional, and he has to play a lot, and he has to be okay, as in healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I understand.
So if he can do all three of those things, we're going to be the best hockey team. If he's the best goalie, we're the best hockey team by far. We'll win the President's Trophy if he wins the Vezina.
James, number 1.
All right. So the most important player for me going into next season is Tyler Seguin. 1,000% it's Tyler Seguin. Seguin had a fine year this year. He had 50 points. He had 21 goals, 29 assists, or 21 goals, 29 assists. But now he's going to play with Matt Duchene. And with that is going to come hopefully a lot more goals and a lot more points. And I feel like there's still something there. He's still, towards the end of the season, we saw it too. He was starting to get better as the season went along, and he looked like more and more of a solid player. And we pay him too much for him to only score 50 points. If he can even get to 70, like 20 more points than last year, then we win the division. Without a doubt.
Yep.
Well, my number 1 is pretty obvious. And it's different from number 3 and number 2 with the way I went about it. It's Miro Heiskanen. I mean, if you don't have Miro Heiskanen, this team, that defense looks really, really, really weak. And then you're asking either one of Esa Lindell, Thomas Harley, or Lundqvist to step up and be that number 1 defenseman. I mean, maybe Harley is the most capable of doing that, but that's a lot to ask for somebody in their first full NHL season, right? So that's just me. I'm not going to go into too much depth about it because we've already talked about him a lot, but he is the significant number 1 key to the Stars' success next season.
Yep. And my number 1 is going to be Jamie Benn, just because I don't trust it yet. Fantastic year last year. 100%. Loved it. I loved the Renaissance. Loved having Jamie Benn back and making a huge impact on this team. He has to do it again. I mean, if you look back at last year, if we do everything last year the exact same, we have a serious, serious chance to win the Stanley Cup. We don't have to change anything from last year, and we have a great chance to win the Stanley Cup because that's how good this team is. And I think we got better. But if Jamie Benn can just maintain, I'm not even saying do better, maintain what you did last year, we are going to be an exceptional hockey team. We're going to have a full 2 lines, maybe 3, with seeing what Marchment can do in a second year and Duchene can do in a first year here. But if the Renaissance can continue, that is going to be huge for us having a multi-tiered offensive threat and to be one of the best offensive teams in the league. I think the key to that is really Jamie Benn, even more than Tyler Seguin.
Yeah, that's a lot of good points, Chris. But the one thing you didn't mention was the fact of his leadership. His leadership has to be key, and he's been through a lot the last couple of seasons, right? He was 2 games away from winning the Stanley Cup in the bubble, and a lot of people are arguing right now that one of the reasons why the Stars lost in the Western Conference Final was because of that really dumb play that he made, regardless of what he says and regardless of what other people may say about it. It was a very stupid move. It was not smart at all. So you got to think he's got to have at least a little bit of a sour taste in his mouth, right?
Oh yeah,
From the playoffs, he absolutely has
there's
to.
a massive chip on his shoulder. I am certain of it. He already had one without having a cup to his name, and then you think, okay, everyone kind of blames him for tossing the season in that game 4. Yeah, he's gonna come into this season upset. If he can channel that in the right direction and can continue what he did last year, like I said, and figure out what he did right and keep doing it, yeah, that would be insane.
And that's the thing with Jamie is he's done that really well over the course of his career, right? He's always been able to tiptoe over that line and not do too much to get in too much trouble. And then the one time he decides to go over it is at the worst possible time when his team needs him the most. So that
could really be like the coolest story
redemption
arc ever.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like he's so good at that. He's so good at, this guy just treads the line all the time. He'll get a $5,000 fine every now and then, but he's never suspended or anything like that. And then he does that play that just fully crossed it and blew up the series pretty much. And to come back and figure out a way to overcome that, man, that would be so cool. That'd be a great setup.
Well, and look at the motivation that the guys got in Game 4 and Game 5.
He doesn't need more motivation.
No, I'm talking about the players around him. I'm talking about the players around him, the motivation they got because the fact that he was out and they wanted him to be able to come back and play. Now, they sucked it up at Game 6, but the motivation and they emptied the gas. They emptied the gas tank in Game 4 and Game 5. They just didn't have enough to get over the finish line. So that's cool to see. He just needs to channel it. Just wait one more series.
Then pass someone's face in the ice. Sure.
Okay. All right. Great job, guys. That was fun talking about that. Okay. Who cares segment? Chris.
So, cake. James, what cake you like? Number 3rd.
Number 3rd is angel food. That's technically cake.
That's cake.
That's my number 3rd.
That. You like that with the strawberries on top or just on a plain?
It's so good with the strawberries on top, but I like it plain too. However you eat it, nice firm cake, very tasty, very fluffy.
James likes it firm and fluffy. Ryan, number 3rd. Ryan, number 3rd. You're not allowed to laugh.
My number 3rd is triple chocolate chunk. No, not triple chocolate chunk. Sorry, just triple chocolate cake. Sorry. Thinking about cookies right now.
I was about to say, that sounds like a cookie to me. But.
Yeah, it is a cookie, yeah. But
I'm no mathematologist.
Mathematologist, yeah. But this particular cake I'm thinking of, it's a Godiva chocolate cake. I don't know. Have you ever had like a Godiva chocolate cake before?
Yes, I have.
It's amazing. And they've got like, it's just the actual cake is chocolate. They've got an icing in the center that's different from the one on the outside too. So it's like a dark chocolate like layer in between the 2 layers, and then it's like a full like buttercream chocolate icing on the outside. Is so good. It's amazing. It's moist.
All right,
Very
Ryan
moist.
likes chocolate. So original, liking a chocolate cake. Anyway, my number 3rd is red velvet.
I knew that was coming.
Chocolate.
I knew that was coming.
No,
I
it
totally
is
knew
fully
you were
just
gonna go with red
dyed chocolate cake, but man,
Well
I love
said
it.
that,
I'm a
Chris.
sucker for some food dye. If y'all see my eating habits, I love food dye. That is my favorite. That's some good stuff. All right, James, number 2nd.
I'm instantly going off script. I gave y'all the only type of cake that I truly like, so my number 2nd is cookie cake.
Oh yeah.
Wait, are you serious? That's my number 2 as well.
Let's go.
Wow.
Cookie
The
cake.
number-
Number 2 are not
and
cakes.
And specifically from Great American Cookies.
No, it
Like
doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. For me, it matters. For those old people who are 30 years old and above, you remember those Great American Cookie cakes when they would bring it in for, during elementary days. The elementary days. They was
I
absolutely
like
amazing.
my cookie cakes to be from Sam's. Anyway,
Sam's.
my number 2
That's a hit for the second
is
time tonight.
carrot cake. Carrot cake is good. If you don't like carrot cake, my response to you is stop being a baby. Yes, you do. You like carrot cake. You just are being a baby because you think that carrots are gross. Calm down. If you actually eat the carrot cake and you taste it, you taste all the nice like spices and flavors. It's a flavorful cake. All right. You know, you eat your red velvet cake. It's good. But you know what you taste? Chocolate. It tastes like chocolate. If you eat a carrot cake, you're thinking about all the complexity, all the little notes, the little journey that it takes you on. Delicious. Also, this is the best cake with like a thick, buttery icing. I mean, it's carrot cake. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit less sweet. And you throw just the most disgusting sweet icing you can imagine. Man, that's amazing. You're wrong, Ardell. I'm sorry. Go to sleep. James, number 1.
My number 1 again is it's not cake, as I've specified before. It's ice cream cake.
Oh.
I like ice cream. Ice cream's my favorite thing in the world, so ice cream cake's my number 1.
James's number 1 and number 2 are not cake. Ryan,
I
number
agree.
1.
I don't know what to tell you. I
He's
don't like
like,
cake that much.
I only have one cake I like, and it's that one. Okay, my number 1 is the right answer. It's cheesecake, and it doesn't matter. It
That's
can be
not cake.
any-
That's pie.
It
Cheesecake is pie.
It is not pie. It is not pie. It has the word cake in the name. Okay,
Just
and
like
it can
ice cream
be-
cake.
and it can be any kind of cheesecake. If you get like the white raspberry, or the turtle cheesecake, or the chocolate cheesecake,
Then you're just opening
or
up
the
a
raspberry
whole-
swirl
If
cheesecake.
you say cheesecake, you're opening up that whole new world.
Yeah, which
And-
cheesecake?
A
Ryan?
whole
That's-
new world.
I knew you to do that, Ryan. Shut up. So cheesecake is either its own thing or it's pie. Those are the only 2 options.
No,
James,
it's
it's
not.
James.
James, it's
thing.
cake. It's cheesecake cake.
I think it's its own thing.
Boom. All right, done.
I
But
hate
It
you
says
both.
cake in the word.
You
It says
know
cake
it's
in
the
the
right
word.
answer.
I'm giving
It's the
my
right
number
answer.
1. This is the wrong answer. I fully understand that, but it's still my favorite. And I've at least chosen 3 cakes in the cake tier list, unlike these imbeciles who have chosen
Half of our
one.
cakes in the tier lists are not cakes.
So my number 1 cake is the strawberry cream bundt cakes that you get from the supermarket. Specifically
Nice.
the HEB ones.
Nice.
Remember that thing I said
Okay,
about
those
food dye?
are good. I will give you.
Remember
those
the
are
thing I
good.
said about food dye? Bright pink. Like dangerously so. Like so pink it'll make you poop pink. Like that's how pink they are. And man, they're so strawberry and creamy. I get those little y'all know what I'm talking about, you HEB frequenters. The little what's it called? The 1 slice of strawberry cake. I'll get that after I get my groceries and I'm like I'm getting dinner and my little dessert. I'll just eat the cake. No dinner. Just eat the whole quarter of a cake. And then I feel sick and I have stomach problems the next day. But, you know, it's worth it because that cake is amazing.
Well, Chris won the Who Cares segment because he actually chose cakes.
I chose cake.
Mine is a cake.
No, it's not.
It is a
Cheesecake
cake.
is not a
And,
cake.
and you still chose cookie
Oh,
cake as your number 2.
Okay. Oh, but so did you. Shut up.
I agree. It's not cake.
Ice cream cake is closer to cake
I
than
didn't
cheesecake.
say-
is.
I didn't disagree with you about cookie cake not being cake. Okay. It's a cookie.
Cheesecake has a graham cracker crust, just like a pie.
It's still called a cheesecake. And it's the one
Okay,
joke
an
in the
ice
name.
cream
Don't
cake
put-
is called a cake. Is that a
You don't
cake?
put- you don't put
Cheesecake is
icing on a
together.
cheesecake.
It's one word. Cookie cake is not. Okay. A cookie cake is a
What about
cookie.
ice
A
cream cake?
cheesecake is not cheese. Okay. It's cheesecake. It's not its own thing. It is a cake. Okay. They'll always
So
gang
wait,
up on me. I swear.
Cro-
This is so stupid.
Crosby is top 10. Cheesecake is not pie. I mean, these are some terrible takes.
On a completely random thing. Have
Fully
y'all ever
wrapped
had?
up that episode right there?
Well, hold on. Have y'all ever had nothing bundt cakes before? Have y'all ever heard of that?
Yes, they're mid and overpriced.
Mid?
I'd rather have the supermarket ones.
Really? Okay. I disagree with you on that. But I do like the supermarket ones though. But I don't like the ones from Walmart. I don't.
Go
Walmart
HEB,
makes them,
man.
but they're not as good.
You're going the wrong place. You're going to Walmart. You got to go to Heb.
Yeah, of course I go to Heb whenever I do that. But, okay, James is yawning, so we need to wrap it up. It's 12 or 12:21 over where he is right now.
Wimp.
Okay.
It's the next
Anyways, yep, it is the next day. We've been talking so long, it's the next day. All
day.
right.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, guys, thank y'all for tuning along with us live here. There's about 8 people who are live now, but we had as much up to 13 tonight. Goodness, I can't.
Oh
talk.
my goodness.
Yes, that's a lot.
What are y'all
for
doing?
the off
Yeah,
season.
go to sleep,
Yeah.
guys. I mean, there's not even a
Yeah, go
hockey
to
game going on.
It's almost like we're talking to ourselves when we say that. But
I
for
know
those of
I
you that
am.
are, yeah, I know you are, James, especially. For those of you that are listening afterwards, we appreciate you as well. Thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook and Raycon for being our sponsor, as always. Along with Chris and James, my name is Ryan. We will catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. And we hope there's hockey here soon. I miss hockey. We'll see you guys later.